Magnus Maximus was Western Roman Emperor from 383 to 388. In 383, as commander of Britain, he usurped the throne against Emperor Gratian, and through negotiation with Emperor Theodosius I the following year he was made emperor in Britannia and Gaul, while Gratian's brother Valentinian II retained Italy, Pannonia, Hispania, and Africa. In 387, Maximus's ambitions led him to invade Italy, resulting in his defeat by Theodosius I at the Battle of the Save in 388. In the view of some historians, his death marked the end of direct imperial presence in Northern Gaul and Britain. Life. Maxima was born in Gratian on the estates of Count Theodosius, to whom he was a nephew, and Flavius Lulius Euchira's son, and Marcellinus' brother. Near contemporaries described his dignity as offended when lesser men were promoted to high positions. Maxima was a distinguished general, who served under Count Theodosius in Africa in 373 and on the Danube in 376. It is likely he also may have been a junior officer in Britain in 368, during the quelling of the Great Conspiracy. Assigned to Britain in 380, he defeated an incursion of the Picts and Scots in 381. The Western Emperor Gratian had become unpopular because of perceived favoritism toward Alans over Roman citizens. The Alans are an Iranian-speaking people who were early adopters of Christianity and migrated both east and west from the homeland. In 383, Maxima was proclaimed emperor by his troops. He went to Gaul to pursue his imperial ambitions, taking a large portion of the British garrison troops with him. Following his landing in Gaul, Maximus went out to meet his main opponent, Emperor Gratian, whom he defeated near Paris. Gratian, after fleeing, was killed at Lyon on August 25, 383. Continuing his campaign into Italy, Maxima was stopped from overthrowing Valentinian II, who was only 12 when Theodosius I, the Eastern Roman Emperor, sent Flavius Buto with a powerful force to stop him. Negotiations followed in 384, including the intervention of Ambrose, Bishop of Milan, leading to an accord with Valentinian II and Theodosius I, in which Maxima was recognized as Augustus in the West. Maximus made his capital at Augusta Treverorum in Gaul, and ruled Britain, Gaul, Spain and Africa. He issued coinage and a number of edicts reorganizing Gaul's system of provinces. Some scholars believe Maximus may have founded the office of the Comes Britanniarum as well. He became a popular emperor. Quintus Aurelius Symmachus delivered a panegyric on Maximus's virtues. He used foederati forces such as the Alemanni to great effect. He was also a stern persecutor of heretics. It was on his orders that Priscillian and 6 companions became the first people in the history of Christianity to be executed for heresy, in this case of Priscillianism, by other Christians, and the property was confiscated. These executions went ahead despite the wishes of prominent men such as St. Martin of Tours. Maximus's edict of 387 of 388, which censured Christians at Rome for burning down a Jewish synagogue, was condemned by Bishop Ambrose, who said people exclaimed, "The emperor has become a Jew." In 387, Maximus managed to force Emperor Valentinian II out of Milan, after which he fled to Theodosius I. Theodosius I and Valentinian II then invaded from the east, and campaigned against Magnus Maximus in July-August 388, the troops being led by Ricomeus and other generals. Maximus was defeated in the Battle of the Save, and retreated to Aquileia. Meanwhile, the Franks under Maximus had taken the opportunity to invade Northern Gaul, at the same time further weakening Maximus's position. Androgadius, Magister Equitum of Maximus and the killer of Emperor Gratian, was defeated near Siscia, while Maximus's brother, Marcellinus, fell in battle at Poetavio. Maximus surrendered in Aquileia, and although he pleaded for mercy was executed. The Senate passed a decree of damnatio memoriae against him. However, his mother and at least 2 daughters were spared. Theodosius's trusted general Arbages strangled Maximus's son, Flavius Victor, at Trier in the fall of the same year. What exactly happened to Maximus's family after his downfall is not recorded. He is known to have had a wife, who is recorded as having sought spiritual counsel from St. Martin of Tours during his time at Trier. Her ultimate fate, and even her name, have not been preserved in definitive historic records. The same is true of Maximus's mother and daughters, other than that they were spared by Theodosius I. One of Maximus's daughters may have been married to Anodius, proconsul Africae. Anodius's grandson was Petronius Maximus, another ill-fated emperor, who ruled in Rome for but 77 days before he was stoned to death while fleeing from the Vandals on May 24, 455. Other descendants of Anodius, and thus possibly of Maximus, included Anicius Olybrius, emperor in 472, but also several consuls and bishops such as St. Magnus Felix Anodius. We also encounter an otherwise unrecorded daughter of Magnus Maximus, Severa, on the Pillar of Wledig, an early medieval inscribed stone in Wales which claims her marriage to Vortigern, king of the Britons. Role in British and Breton history. Maximus's bid for imperial power in 383 coincides with the last date for any evidence of a Roman military presence in Wales, the Western Pennines, and the fortress of Dover. Coins dated later than 383 have been found in excavations along Hadrian's Wall, suggesting that troops were not stripped from it, as was once thought. In the De Rexidio Conquest to Britannia, written c. 540, Gildas says that Maximus left Britain not only with all of its Roman troops, but also with all of its armed bands, governors, and the flower of its youth, never to return. Having left with the troops and senior administrators, and planning to continue as the ruler of Britain in the future, his practical course was to transfer local authority to local rulers. Welsh legend supports that this happened, with stories such as Broodwood Maxen Wledig, where he not only marries a wondrous British woman, but also gives her father sovereignty over Britain. The earliest Welsh genealogies give Maximus the role of founding father of the dynasties of several medieval Welsh kingdoms, including those of Powys and Gwent. He is given as the ancestor of a Welsh king on the Pillar of Wledig, erected nearly 500 years after he left Britain, and he figures in lists of the 15 tribes of Wales. After he became emperor of the Western Roman Empire, Maximus would return to Britain to campaign against the Picts and Scots, probably in support of Rome's long-standing allies the Damnoni, Votardini, and Novante, while he likely made similar arrangements for a formal transfer of authority to local chiefs. The later rulers of Galloway, home to the Novante, would claim Maximus as the founder of the line, the same as did the Welsh kings. The 9th century Historia Brittonum gives another account of Maximus and assigns him an important role. The 7th emperor was Maximianus. He withdrew from Britain with all its military force, slew Gratianus the king of the Romans, and obtained the sovereignty of all Europe. Unwilling to send back his warlike companions to the wives, families, and possessions in Britain, he conferred upon them numerous districts from the lake on the summit of Mons Lavis to the city called Canguic, and to the west and Tumulus, that is Cruc Occident. These are the Armoric Britons, and they remain there to the present day. In consequence of their absence, Britain being overcome by foreign nations, the lawful heirs were cast out, till God interposed with his assistance. Modern historians believe that this idea of mass British troop settlement in Brittany by Maximus may very well reflect some reality, as it accords with archaeological and other historical evidence and later Breton traditions. Armorica declared independence from the Roman Empire in 407 CE, but contributed archers for Flavius Aetius's defense against Attila the Hun, and its king Riothma was subsequently mentioned in contemporary documents as an ally of Rome's against the Goths. Despite its continued usage of two distinct languages, Breton and Gallo, and extensive invasions and conquests by Franks and Vikings, Armorica retained considerable cultural cohesion into the 13th century. Maximus also established a military base in his native Gallerechia, i.e. Galicia, which persisted as a cultural entity despite occupation by the Suebi in 409. See Kingdom of Galicia. This kingdom successfully resisted the Moors and subsequently initiated the Spanish Reconquista. Aetius sent large numbers of Alans to both Armorica and Galicia following the defeat of Attila at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains. The Alans evidently assimilated quickly into the local Celtic cultures, contributing their own legends, e.g., to the Arthurian cycle of romances. Welsh legend. Legendary versions of Maximus's career in which he marries the Welsh princess Elin may have circulated in popular tradition in Welsh-speaking areas from an early date. Although the story of Helen and Maximus's meeting is almost certainly fictional, there is some evidence for the basic claims. He is certainly given a prominent place in the earliest version of the Welsh triads, which are believed to date from c. 1100 and which reflect far older traditions. Welsh poetry also frequently refers to Maxen as a figure of comparison with later Welsh leaders. These legends come down to us in two separate versions. Geoffrey of Monmouth. According to Geoffrey of Monmouth's fictional Historia Regum Britanniae, the basis for many English and Welsh legends, Maximinus, as he calls him, was a Roman senator, a nephew of Culhwch through Cul's brother Iwelinus, and king of the Britons following the death of Theodosius I. Geoffrey writes this came about because Octavius wanted to wed his daughter to such a powerful half-Roman half-Briton and to give the kingship of Britain as a dowry to that husband, so he sent a message to Rome offering his daughter to Maximian. Caradocus, the Duke of Cornwall, had suggested and supported the marriage between Octavius's daughter and Maximian. Maximian accepted the offer and left Rome for Britain. Geoffrey claims further that Maximian gathered an army as he sacked Frankish towns along the way. He invaded Clausentum unintentionally and nearly fought the army of the Britons under Conan Meriadoc before agreeing to a truce. Following further negotiations, Maximian was given the kingship of Britain and Octavius retired. 5 years into his kingship, Magnus Maximus assembled a vast fleet and invaded Gaul, leaving Britain in the control of Caradocus. Upon reaching the kingdom of Armorica, he defeated the king and killed thousands of inhabitants. Before departing to Rome, he summoned Conanus, the rebellious nephew of Octavius, and asked him to rule as king of the land, which was renamed Brittany, or Little Britain. Conan's men married native women after cutting out their tongues to preserve the purity of the language. Geoffrey of Monmouth presents this legend to explain the Welsh name for Brittany, Llydaw, as originating from Lled or half-silent. given that Conan was well established in genealogies as the founder of Brittany. This account is certainly connected to an older tradition than Geoffrey. Following the death of Caradocus, rule of Britain as regent passed to Dianotis, who, facing a foreign invasion, appealed to Maximus, who finally sent a man named Gratian Municeps with 2 legions to stop the attack. He killed many thousands before the invaders fled to Ireland. Maximus died in Rome soon after, and Dianotis became the official king of the Britons. Unfortunately, before he could begin his reign, Gratian took hold of the crown and made himself king over Dianotis. The dream of Maxen Wledig. Although the Mabinogian tale The Dream of Maxen Wledig is written in later manuscripts than Geoffrey's version, the two accounts are so different that scholars agree the dream cannot be based purely on Geoffrey's version. The dream's account also seems to accord better with details in the triads, so it perhaps reflects an earlier tradition. Maxen Wledig, the Emperor of Rome, dreams one night of a lovely maiden in a wonderful, far-off land. Awakening, he sends his men all over the earth in search of her. With much difficulty they find her in a rich castle in Wales, daughter of a chieftain based at Sigontium, and lead the emperor to her. Everything he finds is exactly as in his dream. The maiden, whose name is Helen or Elin, accepts and loves him. Because Elin is found a virgin, Maxen gives her father sovereignty over the island of Britain and orders 3 castles built for his bride. In Maxen's absence, a new emperor seizes power and warns him not to return. With the help of men from Britain led by Ellen's brother Conanus, Maxen marches across Gaul and Italy and recaptures Rome. In gratitude to his British allies, Maxen rewards them with a portion of Gaul that becomes known as Brittany. Stemma. Ancestor, Sextus Lulius Caesar. Grandfathers, Lulius Honorius Marcus Aurelius Mauseus Valerius Carausius. Father, Flavius Lulius Eucherius. Uncles, Flavius Lulius Theodosius, Flavius Lulius Honorius. Cousins, Flavius Theodosius, Flavius Honorius. Second-grade nephews, Flavius Didymus, Flavius Theodosiolus, Flavius Ligaudius, Flavius Verenianus, Flavius Honorius, Flavius Arcadius, Fabius Serena, Flavia Maria, Galla Placidia, mother, Flavia, wife, Helen Furtuda, sons, Flavius, daughters, Flavia Severa, Flavia Aelia Flacilia, grandsons, Flavius Constans, Flavius Ambrosius Aurelius, Flavius Eucherius, grand-grandsons, Aurelius Ambrosius, Aurelianus, Moderatus.